Hello, cooking, baking, and food lovers. Welcome to the March 2022 edition of Ask Chef Alex Live, where I'll answer every single one of your cooking and baking and food related questions. I'm your host, the one and the only Chef Alex Cardinale, and I'm excited to host the March 2022 Ask Chef Alex Live. I really enjoy talking about cooking and baking, and one of the things I really enjoy the most is answering cooking and baking questions and some food questions. So today I have an action packed episode of Ask Chef Alex Live for you. Of course, I'm going to answer your cooking and baking questions. I'm going to answer some of my own questions, and I can't wait to hear your answers. But I've got some interesting topics tonight. March is St. Patrick's Day month. It's the luck of the Irish in March. So, one of my topics tonight, I'm going to talk about food that is perfect for St. Patrick's Day this coming Thursday. That's right, St. Patrick's Day is this coming Thursday. So, if you're going to be celebrating a traditional Irish meal, I'm going to give you some ideas of what you can have on Thursday for St. Patrick's Day. And then my cooking tips today is some tips to have a perfect breakfast on a busy morning. And I'll give you some good breakfast food suggestions. My baking tips today, I'm going to give you tips for making a perfect cheesecake. And then I've got a plethora of recipes. I'm going to give you my secrets for making the perfect scrambled eggs. I'm going to give you a baked French toast recipe. I'm going to show you how to make an Oreo cheesecake. And I'm going to give you a strawberry cheesecake recipe also. So, an action packed episode of Ask Chef Alex Live. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, since this is a live question and answer, and you happen to have any cooking or baking questions, please post them in the chat or in the comments, and I will answer your cooking and baking questions that you have. You can also appear live on the video virtually to ask your cooking and baking questions. All you need to do is click this link right here. That's the link that is in the YouTube description. It's also on Facebook description as well. If you want to come in person and ask your cooking and baking questions, you certainly can do that. Just click that link and you'll be able to come onto my studio and ask any cooking or baking questions that you have. I ask that you please just keep your questions to cooking and baking for today's video. That way we can keep this a food related video. All right, so while I wait for some questions to come in, let's start with our first segment that I start off every episode of Ask Chef Alex Live, and that's a segment called Chef Alex Ask You, where I want answers from you, my audience, the cooking and food and baking lovers. So here are the questions that I am asking you tonight. Do you have corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day? If not, what do you have? What is your favorite Irish food or beverage? What is your favorite breakfast dish? And lastly, what is your favorite cheesecake? So, those are the questions that I am personally asking you, my audience members. You can post your answers in the comments on YouTube or in the YouTube chat, or you can come answer them virtually by clicking that link in the description of today's video. So, I'm going to start today's video by answering these questions. So, Do I have corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day? Well, personally, I don't. Um, I'm not a fan of corned beef because I find that corned beef is way too salty for me. Um, I like salty foods, but I feel like there's a whole lot of salt in corned beef, and I'm just not a fan of it. And I don't like cabbage at all. Cabbage looks absolutely unappealing and disgusting to me. So, no, I don't eat corned beef and cabbage. My family does, but I don't. Each year on St. Patrick's Day, I prepare a different meal, or I go out to eat, or I do something totally different. But this year for St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to just make a roasted turkey breast with some stuffing and other stuff for my brother and I to enjoy because my brother doesn't like corned beef and cabbage either. So that's what I will be doing for St. Patrick's Day. But my family will be celebrating tradition and they'll be having corned beef and cabbage as well. So, what is your favorite Irish food or beverage? It's a tough question. I really don't know much Irish food or beverages. I'm Italian, and so I really haven't explored Irish cuisine. But I would say shepherd's pie would be something that I really enjoy. That's Irish. I also would enjoy a Reuben, which is good. Reubens are good. I like Reuben, which is also made with corned beef, but for some reason it's usually not that salty. So shepherd's pie and a Reuben would be my favorite Irish food or beverage. What is my favorite breakfast dish? That would be easy. That would be French toast. I'm a big fan of French toast, but when I'm not in the mood for French toast, it would be poached eggs or eggs Benedict or red velvet waffles with cream cheese icing. And the last question that I'm going to answer, that I'm asking you guys, the audience members, to answer, what is your favorite cheesecake? I had to think long and hard about this one because I have a lot of cheesecakes that I like. While I enjoy a classic strawberry or raspberry cheesecake, for some reason, I love the texture of an Oreo cheesecake. I love Oreos and I love cheesecake. It's just a classic American dessert. And later on in the video, I'm going to show you how to make your own Oreo cheesecake. And you guys are going to love that. You guys are going to learn how to make a delicious Oreo cheesecake. So that would be my favorite. But I also like peppermint cheesecake, white chocolate, raspberry cheesecake. I would say cheesecake is a favorite dessert of mine. So those are all of the questions that I'm asking you, my audience members. You can answer them by posting your answers in the comments. And also you can post your questions in the comments as well. And I look forward to answering your questions. So I see we have some live comments. I'm going to go ahead and answer them. So we have Crypt Keeper Aquatics. He says, "Hey, Alex, was on your Pleco stream the other night. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you very much for tuning into that and for tuning into my cooking show. Didn't know you were a chef too. Yes, I actually am not like a professional chef. I went to culinary school for about 6 years, and then I worked as a line cook for a couple of years until I had to leave the restaurant industry. But I do know how to cook, and cooking is like a real good passion of mine. I work for a brewery kitchen. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Brewery kitchens are great. They have great drinks, and I'm sure you guys have great food as well. This week's specials are Reubens. Oh, those sound really good. Irish beef stew with our imperial stout and whiskey pub burger. Ooh, that sounds delicious as well. The whiskey pub burger. Shepherd's pie is awesome. Also love call cannon and bangers and mash. I've heard of bangers and mash before, but I really could never figure out what it is. I'm assuming it's a type of sausage and mashed potatoes, but that sounds pretty good as well. I like a grilled sausage every now and then. And He says, best cheesecake I had was the Cinnabon cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory. Truly amazing. I have to agree that the Cheesecake Factory's Cinnabon cheesecake is great. I have a lot of favorites from the Cheesecake Factory. I love their red velvet cheesecake. I love their Reese's chocolate peanut butter cake cheesecake. And even their original strawberry cheesecake is really, really good. So great answers. So we have another live question from a good friend of mine, Mike Oxlong, is on our stream today. Hey, Mike, how you doing? And Mike says, what's your favorite cuisine to cook versus what's your favorite cuisine to eat? I would say personally, for me to cook, it would be Italian. I love cooking anything Italian. Mostly for Italian food, I make mostly entrees. So I would make things like chicken parmesan, chicken marsala, chicken francais, spaghetti and meatballs, all sorts of different pasta sauces. I make a great Alfredo sauce from scratch. I never, ever recommend anybody to use the store-bought canned Alfredo sauces because to me, those taste like ranch dressing. They don't have the Alfredo flavor. They have more like uh, a, a ranch dressing flavor that is kind of disgusting. But I know how to make a great Alfredo sauce, which basically is just butter, garlic, heavy cream, and Parmesan cheese, and a little bit of mozzarella cheese. I make a great marinara, a great pesto. So I love making pretty much anything Italian. And one of my favorite Italian things to make besides chicken parm and all those saute dishes would be a simple calamari marinara served over linguine. I take fresh calamari, dice it up, and cook it in a marinara sauce for about 45 minutes. And it is very, very good. A lot of people are intimidated by calamari because they think they're going to overcook it and it's going to be rubbery or tough. But the secret to cooking calamari is either on high for 45 seconds or low for 45 minutes. And I simmer it on low for 45 minutes. Now, my favorite cuisine to eat is a little bit different. I like American food when I go out to eat. So I like steaks, like ribeyes and filet mignon and prime rib. I also like seafood and pizza and stuff like that as well. I will go to a nice Italian restaurant as well, don't get me wrong, but if I get a choice of a restaurant, it would be something like the Cheesecake Factory that has American cuisine, that has all the other cuisines factored into it, but in an American style. So that was a great, great question. So Cripps says bangers are almost similar to the American breakfast sausage links, but they are a softer texture, more rusk, which is filler, and finer grind. They're served on a bed of mashed potato with a brown gravy. That sounds pretty good. Not quite as much seasoning into the sausage mix either. Yeah, I tend to notice that the American sausages have a lot of seasoning in them, especially the Italian ones. But I love a good Italian sausage. I think Italian sausage is another thing that I enjoy cooking. So great questions and comments coming in so far. I'm enjoying answering them so far. All right, so let's get to our first topic, and we talked about it briefly, and that is Irish food because St. Patrick's Day is coming up this Thursday already. It seems that time has flown by quickly. It was already the Super Bowl, it was already Valentine's Day, and now we're getting ready for St. Patrick's Day and Easter. So time is quickly flying by, and it is amazing how fast time goes by when you're having a lot of fun as well. So the best Irish foods to have on St. Patrick's Day. Soda bread. I forgot to mention that soda bread is one of my favorite Irish foods. A lot of people eat their soda bread different ways. Some people like it sweet, so they'll add an addition of honey, sugar, or dried fruits to their batter. Others will make it savory by sprinkling in seeds, bran, and oats for a health boost. But overall, soda bread is great. I like mine on the sweeter side with honey, sugar, or dried fruits. But the basic ingredients of soda bread are baking soda or bicarbonate of soda and buttermilk, and they form the raising agent, which is mixed with flour. Now, it usually is eaten sliced and spread liberally with butter. I've seen a couple people toast their soda bread, but I just enjoy it the normal way. Slice it down the middle and put some butter and jelly on it, and soda bread is absolutely delicious. It really is good. If you've never tried soda bread, trust me, you got to try it. You don't know what you're missing. It's a really, really good bread. Potatoes. Potatoes are for the Irish. A lot of Irish folks love potatoes. I have a couple of Irish friends, and they're always, always eating potatoes. I've gone grocery shopping with them, and they would buy like 5 or 6 bags of potatoes. And I was like, wow, you're going to use all those potatoes in a matter of 2 weeks? And they would say, yes, we have potatoes practically every day. So they would have potatoes for breakfast, lunch, and sometimes even dinner. And I'm not joking. So that's why I would say potatoes would be a great uh, side dish on St. Patrick's Day. And of course, there's tradition of corned beef and cabbage. And then there's my favorite Irish dish, which is shepherd's pie. And that consists of mashed potato, a ground red meat, which could be ground beef, ground veal, or ground lamb. It could have onions, and usually it's a gravy or a sauce. And if you wanted to, you could add vegetables to the mix. People add carrots, people add peas, people have added corn. My grandmother was also Italian, but she loved shepherd's pie, and she added canned corn. But I'm not a fan of corn like that, so I don't recommend putting corn in shepherd's pie unless you like that. So those are the best items for Irish food that you can have on St. Patrick's Day. So we've got some more awesome comments that are coming in. Crypt Keeper says, I like cooking fusion foods. That's a great idea. I like that as well. Most recent creation was a playoff from the shrimp po' boy. Cajun grilled shrimp, Kugachanga chili glaze, Asian slaw on a brioche bun. That sounds delicious. But unfortunately for me, I'm allergic to shellfish. But there was a time where I could actually enjoy shrimp and lobster, but now I can't, unfortunately. But I can eat calamari and other types of seafood. Used like a New Orleans type seasoning on the shrimp. That sounds great. I love Cajun cooking, and they have some of the best seasonings out there. And Crip says, Cole Cannon is my favorite Irish potato. It's mashed potatoes with braised leeks and cabbage. You can leave cabbage out, and it's still great. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of cabbage. It smells disgusting as it cooks, and just not really a fan of it. It doesn't look appealing. But I know a lot of people love cabbage, so if you enjoy cabbage, then continue to eat it. I'm not going to stop you. I think it's a great healthy food as well. So this Thursday on St. Patrick's Day, Chef Alex is going to make an appearance on the 2022 St. Patrick's Day Bash right here on my YouTube channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale. And I'm going to make sort of an Irish dessert, although it's more like of an American dessert, but it has the Irish green color. Anyway, this Thursday, March 17th, 2022, at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, join me as I make a green velvet cake with cream cheese icing. I, Chef Alex Cardinale, will show you how easy it is to get in the St. Patrick's Day spirit and make a green velvet cake this Thursday, St. Patrick's Day, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. I figured I'd throw that shameless plug in the middle of the show so that you guys would tune in to see me, Chef Alex, on the St. Patrick's Day broadcast. All right, so we have another question that is coming in. I'm really, really appreciating it. He says, Alex, I'm sure I could change your mind on the cabbage if you give me a chance. I used to hate it until I found ways to remove some of the sulfuric content from it to make it more palatable. I would give you a chance, definitely. There's a first time for everything, so there's a first time for trying things that you don't like, and maybe you end up liking them. So I'm down for the challenge. I'll definitely consider changing my mind on cabbage, and hopefully I like it. I like broccoli. I like spinach. Pretty much, I could probably like cabbage as well, as long as it doesn't taste like Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are disgusting in my personal opinion. All right, so now we're going to get to our first tips for the evening. Chef Alex's first tips. So here we go. So this month's cooking tips are going to be for breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So breakfast is what actually keeps us motivated and gives us energy because it keeps our body replenished throughout the day. Now I have a confession to make. For many years, I have went to high school and worked without eating breakfast, and by noon, I was tired, out of energy, and I was like, I had to take a break to go get something to eat. So a few years after that, I started eating breakfast, and it wasn't really a full-on meal. It could be a simple banana or a protein bar or a fruit bar, and it was good, and I felt a lot better throughout the day. So I always recommend to people, even if you have a busy life schedule, you should still manage to have something in the morning just to hold you over until you have lunch or dinner. I know there are people out there that eat every meal, whether it be breakfast, lunch, dinner, and dessert or snacks in between. But there was a time where I would only eat lunch, dinner, dessert, and snacks, and I would never have breakfast. But now I have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a few snacks in between, and I feel a lot better. So breakfast is definitely an important part of an everyday meal. So we need to plan how to have a successful and healthy breakfast that is going to be beneficial for all of you. So I have some ideas for having the perfect breakfast, even if you are on a busy schedule. So the first tips I'm going to give you aren't really about cooking. It's about getting food in your stomach so that you can focus on the rest of your day at work or school or whatever it is you do. So if you're a chef and you don't have breakfast, you're going to be really lethargic throughout the day. And chefs tend to work long hours. The same can be said for doctors, paramedics, etc. So quick breakfast ideas for the busy workday would include fruit bars, like the Kellogg fruit bars. I really enjoy those. Pop Tarts are great. Donuts, muffins, and other breakfast pastries are good. Cereal is great as well for a quick breakfast idea. However, try to limit the amount of sugary breakfast that you have to at least only a couple times a week. A piece of fresh fruit would also be a great breakfast idea, whether it be a citrus fruit like an orange or a lemon, or a grapefruit or a banana or an apple would be a great alternate to the sugary stuff as well. Now, when it comes time to cooking breakfast on the weekends, this is the fun part. Um, a lot of people pan fry bacon. That takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. You can save yourself time by taking a baking sheet, turning the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, grabbing some parchment paper, taking the bacon and putting it on the parchment lined baking sheet, and baking it in the oven for 20 to 30 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to get perfectly crisp bacon with only one pan to clean. And because you have the uh, parchment paper on that pan, your pan's not going to burn, and it's not going to be hard to clean like your frying pan would with all that grease. So I really recommend baking your bacon in the oven on the weekend mornings that you make breakfast. It saves yourself a lot of time, and I think baked bacon is the best bacon out there. It's certainly the most healthiest way to do it as well. So definitely that's one way to save time when you're making breakfast for your family on the weekends. And the next tip I know is going to be like a head scratcher because I'm a big fan of making stuff from scratch. But using boxed pancake and waffle mixes does come in handy from time to time. There are ways you can doctor it up. You can add sugar to it to make it more sweeter. You can add vanilla extract. You can add chocolate chips. You can add fresh chopped fruit like banana or strawberry, etc. There's no shame in using boxed pancake or waffle mix whatsoever. Sometimes we want to save time, but we still want to have like a fresh prepared pancake or a waffle. And at that point, you could use a boxed mix. Because I know sometimes homemade waffle batters take a lot of ingredients and a lot of whisking, and it could get costly if we're doing it every time we're making homemade waffles or pancakes. So don't feel bad if you ever have to use a box mix. I do from time to time. But what I do is I doctor it up. I add a little bit more sugar. I add some vanilla extract and a couple other ingredients to give it more of a like fresh flavor. And I make my waffles or my pancakes. And then you could also like make different kinds of waffles and pancakes from that boxed waffle or pancake mix. You can add Fruity Pebble cereal, Cocoa Pebbles, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and all other types of cereal. And instead of using maple syrup, you can take some cream cheese and make a cream cheese glaze by whisking in the KitchenAid stand mixer or another mixer a block of cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla extract, and you make a quick glaze. That would be something that is really quick and easy to make. So some of my breakfast, or there's one more quick breakfast idea that I wanted to give out since we're on the subject of pancakes and stuff. And that would be to get a griddle. A griddle is a great addition to a breakfast cook because on a griddle, you could easily cook up to 8 slices of French toast, up to 8 slices of eggs, and you'll have a whole lot of room to make home fries and other type of breakfast foods as well. So another key to making the perfect breakfast is to have a griddle. I prefer cooking breakfast on a griddle than over the stove. Griddle cooking is a lot quicker. Um, I keep thinking that I hear a fish out of water over by my tank, but I don't think nothing jumped out. But anyway, a griddle is a quick way of serving fresh breakfast food, and you don't have to slave yourself over a stove. So now we're going to get on to my breakfast food suggestions. And I would suggest scrambled eggs, waffles, French toast, and poached eggs as great breakfast items. All of them are really easy to make. And a couple of weeks ago, on my second episode of Cooking School with Chef Alex Cardinale, I gave you a tip for making poached eggs. So hopefully you'll follow that. And just a minute here, I'm going to give you tips for making the best scrambled eggs, which are great. All right. So Crypt Aquatics has some other awesome comments. Crypt says, I feel miserable without my breakfast routine. Oh, this sounds good. Vanilla Greek yogurt parfait with fresh berries and granola, scrambled egg, whole grain toast with jam, honey, or peanut butter. That actually sounds pretty good. My doctor actually recommended that I have yogurt parfaits whenever I get in the mood for like a vanilla ice cream sundae. He said it's a lot less calories, and I could add the fresh berries and other fruit and stuff. So I might start making my own yogurt parfaits. I think that would be awesome and delicious. Country bacon or extra thick hand sliced slab bacon. Ooh, I love that bacon. Is the only bacon I'll cook on stove top, lightly cooked. Regular commodity bacon goes in the oven to get crispy. Extra points for home cured bacon. I haven't had a home cured bacon in so long. That is absolutely my favorite type of bacon besides the hand sliced slab bacon. I love the slab bacon as well. Um, I forgot the name of the other bacon. Canadian bacon is okay, but that's probably the only bacon that I don't really care for. Um, and Canadian bacon, for all those of you who don't know what Canadian bacon is it's basically the bacon that McDonald's has on their McMuffin. That's that ham, like ham thing. That's Canadian bacon. So many benefits to yogurt. Probiotics do a lot of good for the body. Definitely help prevent my chronic heartburn since starting to eat it daily. That is great. I also suffer from chronic heartburn from time to time, but mostly it's when I have Italian food like marinara sauce. So that's why I'm trying to like stay away from tomato sauce when I have pasta. But when you have like when chicken parm is your favorite, you have to deal with it sometimes. So, but I'm definitely going to give yogurt a try. I know when I was growing up, I always got Yoplait, Oreo, and M&M and Twix yogurt. So even if I have to go back to that for a little while, then I can wean myself onto the more healthier yogurt. That is what I'll do. That would be a great benefit. Okay, so let's get to our first couple of recipes for the evening. And right now, I want to give you my tips for making the perfect scrambled eggs. A lot of people are afraid of making scrambled eggs. They think it's difficult to make. They think it's going to be a bad experience making them. Um, if you don't know what you're doing, then there are high probabilities that your scrambled eggs are going to be rubbery or bad, but there are certain protocols you got to follow when making scrambled eggs, and I'm going to share them with you. You definitely do not want to use a cereal bowl and a fork when you're going to scramble your eggs before you put them in a saute pan. So the first thing you should know about making scrambled eggs, you're going to need some basic equipment. You're going to need a whisk and a mixing bowl. You're going to need a saute pan, and you're going to need a rubber spatula. That's pretty much it, besides your ingredients, which would be eggs, salt and pepper, and cheese if you're going to add it. So tips for making the perfect scrambled eggs. Whisk the eggs using a whisk and a mixing bowl. That way it gets whisked together perfectly and it will cook evenly. And when you're cooking before you even think about cooking your scrambled eggs, turn the heat on medium and put some butter or oil in the pan so that your eggs do not stick. Now, During cooking, you're going to want to use a rubber spatula. Rubber spatula has give and flexibility, so you can hug the curve of your pan, which allows you to get a nice fold each time. Slowly push the eggs from one side to the other, making sure all the uncooked eggs touch the skillet. Now, one of the reasons that scrambled eggs tend to become dry and rubbery is because they've been cooked at a high temperature too quickly. So, to avoid doing that, you want to cook them low and slow. So, have them on a medium to low heat and cook them slowly. And at the towards the end of cooking, like the last couple of minutes, you can add the cheeses right before finish cooking. So when it's a little bit watery still, add your cheeses. Account for carryover cooking. Remove your eggs from the stovetop before they finish cooking. They should still look loose and a bit runny. Eggs are a protein, and like all proteins, they will continue to cook after you remove them from the heat. If you're serving them at the table, consider transferring them to a serving platter. All that hot pan is going to do is continue cooking the eggs. So, like I tell everybody, carry over cooking is a thing, and it happens even after you take something out of the oven or off the stove. So always think in the back of your head, carry over cooking. It is okay to take things off the stove or out of the oven a few minutes before they look like it's done, because there's a thing called carry over cooking. And those are my tips for making the perfect scrambled eggs. It's really easy to make scrambled eggs, but if you need more wisdom, there's definitely a couple of videos on YouTube out there that will help you on that. But if you follow my advice, you should have no problem making the perfect scrambled eggs. So, Cripps says Canadian bacon is bacon from the loin muscle back strap instead of the belly, and not typically smoked where American streaky bacon is. Have you ever had buckboard bacon? It's amazing. Still made from pork, made from boneless pork, Boston butt, shoulder. No, I've never had buckboard bacon. That sounds pretty good. I think the Boston butt or the pork shoulder is what I use to make my pulled pork with. It's something like along those lines. I haven't bought it in a while. It's been a couple of a month or so since I made pulled pork, but that does sound really, really delicious. And I'm definitely going to have to try it one day. So after this video, I'm going to go research buckboard bacon and see if I can find it, because that sounds good. I really like a good bacon. There was a time where I wasn't really into bacon, but now if I'm going to have bacon, I like a nice crispy bacon. And I do that in the oven, and I think that sounds absolutely delicious. Yeah, that's the typical muscle of choice for pulled pork. Yeah, I thought I got the Boston butt shoulder. Yeah, so that was right. My butcher usually just packs it up for me anytime I say I'm making pulled pork. He just goes to the back and gets whatever he has. So, and I thought the label said Boston butt, whatever, but pulled pork is good. I think that's something that a restaurant should offer one day, like a pulled pork eggs Benedict. That would be good. I would be interested in making that. Maybe that could be one of my future cooking videos. I'll make a pulled pork eggs Benedict. If you haven't learned the story of how the pork shoulder started being called Boston butt, go look it up. Super cool story. Yeah, we'll definitely do that. I'll definitely look that up and see the meaning of it. We could do that right now, actually, since I have the screen share option. All right, so share screen. All right. Am I on? Yep, I'm on. So we're looking up Boston butt. Okay. This should be interesting. I'll just put Boston butt story. A pork butt is not a butt. Apparently, butts are named after the barrels pork used to be stored in around the time of the Revolutionary War. They were called butts. And the reason butts are often called Boston butts is because they were considered a New England specialty. And frequently you see them called a shoulder butt. So basically, they're saying that the people that live in New England are butts. The New England people love to eat butts. That's funny. Thank God I'm no longer living in New England. But that's very interesting. I'm glad that you brought that up. Very, very cool. All right, so now we're going to get to my cooking recipe for this month's broadcast. And this month, I'm going to share a French toast recipe. But it's perfect for the weekday when you're going to be working and you don't really have time to prepare a big breakfast. So you could do this overnight. So here it is, my baked French toast recipe. This one is really, really easy, but also really, really delicious. So you're going to need a half cup of butter melted, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 12 slices of sandwich bread, 6 eggs, a half cup of milk, and a pinch of salt. Coat a 9 by 13-inch baking dish with melted butter. Spread any remaining melted butter over bottom of dish. Sprinkle brown sugar and cinnamon evenly over melted butter. Arrange bread in 2 layers over brown sugar mixture. Beat eggs, milk, and salt in a bowl and pour over bread. Cover and refrigerate overnight. Then when you wake up, you're going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake in the preheated oven until golden brown, 30 minutes. And there you have it, a simple French toast that was baked in the oven and you didn't have to stand over a stove or a griddle to make French toast. And what I like about this recipe is that it's somewhat similar to bread pudding, but in French toast format. You guys know that I love bread pudding, and bread pudding is a great American dessert, but this is really, really unorthodox way to celebrate and have French toast by having a baked French toast. That is really, really good. So this is a fun show so far. I'm enjoying all the interactivity and a great uh, experience tonight with all the viewers that are interacting. So this is a great Ask Chef Alex Live. I don't think I've ever had this much activity in a while on Ask Chef Alex Live, so I'm really happy about that. You forgot the bourbon cream in that recipe. Ah, yeah, it's very, very true. You could actually add liquor to the baked French toast, whether it be bourbon, rum, whiskey, or flavored vodka like vanilla. I've used a flavored vanilla vodka before and it was good. My friend Randall is in the house. Hey, Randall, how are you? If you like Mexican food, I have a recipe for barbecue shredded beef. I'll DM you. So delicious, bro. Yes, that sounds great. I love beef and I love barbecue. And I somewhat love Mexican food as long as it doesn't make me run to the restroom. But yes, I do like Mexican food. Tacos are a good favorite. Mexican rice, Spanish rice, quesadillas. Um, uh, I'm trying to think if there's any desserts that I like. Uh, I know the name of it, but I don't want to like embarrass myself. It's basically sweetened condensed milk that is allowed to boil, and it's like caramel, dulce de leche, I think it's pronounced. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that I like. I'll just say that. And the reason I know about some of the Mexican food is, when I was in culinary school, I had to do every single major cuisine. So I did Mexican, Italian, even though Italian was like a waste to me because I already know all of the Italian cuisine. Um, I did a little bit of United Kingdom or British, whatever they call that. Then I went to Asian, and I think that was it. I never got to do like Europe or any other parts of the world because by the time I was supposed to have my next course in that, my chef instructor retired, and then I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna leave culinary school and just go work in the field, because basically everything in culinary school was a repeat of what I did in my high school when I took culinary arts. Haven't had authentic Mexican food in a long time, like 10 plus years. I need to go travel somewhere. It's been a long time for me as well. I think it has been at least a year since I've even had Taco Bell. So I'm in the same boat. Taco Bell is pretty good, but it's not really authentic Mexican food. That'd be like saying Olive Garden is a great fine dining Italian restaurant. It's good, but it's not top quality Italian food. All right, so I hope you guys have worked up a sweet tooth because now it's time for my baking tips, and I've got some interesting recipes for baking today, and I even have a baking video that I'm going to share with you. All right, so this month's baking tips are tips for making the perfect cheesecake. As I said earlier, cheesecake is one of my favorite dessert, and a lot of people are intimidated about making a homemade cheesecake, but it is really simple. There's just some things that you need to know, and if I can make a homemade cheesecake, you can do it as well. So here are some tips for making the perfect cheesecake. First and foremost, your cream cheese should always be room temperature before you even think about making a cheesecake. This one is really all about making sure that your cheesecake isn't lumpy and that the ingredients combine smoothly. So, whether you're making a non baked cheesecake or a baked cheesecake, make sure your cream cheese is at room temperature. Cream cheese that is too firm won't mix well and will leave you with a lumpy mess. So it needs to be at room temperature. In a pinch, you could always take the cream cheese out of the wrapping, cut it into smaller sections, and heat for about 15 seconds at a time until softened. But that's only if you're in a pinch. What you could do is an hour or so ahead of time, take the cream cheese out of the fridge and leave it on the counter so that it becomes room temperature. Also, as far as cream cheese goes, use the full fat regular stuff because the more fat means the more creamy your cheesecake's going to be. And you don't want to have any fillers or anything that is made to replace fat in your cheesecake. My next tip would be not to overmix the batter or mix on too high of a speed. Both over mixing and mixing on a high speed add more air to the batter. Too much air in a cheesecake can cause cracks a few ways. One is big air bubbles can rise to the surface and create cracks or little craters. Two, adding air causes things to rise, and too much rise in a cheesecake is not a good thing. It can rise too much or too quickly and then fall and crack. This also goes back to number one about room temperature cream cheese. If your cream cheese is not soft enough, you'll have to mix things more to get out the lumps. So again, be sure it's nice and soft. Also, more air tends to be added during the process of adding eggs to the batter, so be sure to use a lower speed. And the only time you add eggs to a cheesecake batter is if it's going to be a baked cheesecake. If it's a non-baked cheesecake, then you don't have to worry about adding eggs. And last but not least, these last couple of tips for making a cheesecake are for baked cheesecakes. If you're not a fan of baked cheesecakes, you don't have to follow these. But use a water bath. Water baths are really important to having a successful outcome when it comes to baking a cheesecake. The water bath generates steam that helps keep the cheesecake from drying out and cracking. And secondly, and most importantly, the water bath keeps the sides of the cheesecake from baking more quickly than the middle. It helps bake more evenly, also helping preventing cracks. And just like when we're making cake, do not open the oven. If you open up the oven during baking, you're going to let out all the good, hot, steamy air. The change in temperature could possibly cause the cheesecake to fall in the middle or bake unevenly. Don't overbake the cheesecake. In addition to the other things I already discussed, overbaking a cheesecake could lead to cracks, much like with a custard pie. You'll know the cheesecake has baked enough when the edges of the cheesecake are well set and the inner few inches are set but still jiggly. And finally, let the cheesecake cool gradually. When the cheesecake has baked enough, it is set but still jiggly, it's time for the gradual cooling process. Typically, let a cheesecake sit in the oven with the door closed for about another 30 minutes. And then you can take it out of the oven, let it sit at room temperature for an hour, then wrap it in foil and let it set up in the fridge for up to 3 hours, and then you can serve the cheesecake. So those are my tips for making a perfect cheesecake each and every time. All right, it's time for my final 2 segments for this month's Ask Chef Alex Live. Before we get to today's recipe, I'd like to remind everybody that I made a Twix cheesecake that had a cheesecake mixture. It had caramel and Twix bars in it, and it was decorated with more caramel and chocolate on top. I made the Twix cheesecake on my 8-year YouTube anniversary last Sunday. So if you want to see how to make a delicious Twix cheesecake, definitely go watch my 8-year YouTube anniversary for that. But today I'm going to show you how to make an Oreo cheesecake. I actually have a baking video that I did with a friend a couple years ago. We're going to show you that, and then when we come back, I'm going to tell you how to make a delicious but simple strawberry or any fruit filling cheesecake, really. So let's get to our delicious Oreo cheesecake video right now.
And cheesecake video. Oreo and cheesecake video. But before we get started, make sure you guys give this video a huge like, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's get started.
We're going to be making an Oreo cheesecake today. It's very fun and a very easy recipe. Okay, so first I'll go over the ingredients and then we'll get started. Very simple. You need a Oreo pie crust, two packages of Philadelphia cream cheese, a packages of Oreos, some sugar, some heavy cream, some milk, and I think that's everything. And of course, we'll have the description in the description box below. So we're going to get started now. So in the mixing bowl, we're going to put the cream cheese.
So we're going to put 2 of the cream cheese in there?
Yep, in the mixing bowl. And then we just bring it over to my stand mixer. So now we're going to mix this for like a minute until it gets combined and creamy. Alright, so now we add We're going to add our sugar, which is a half cup. A good half cup of sugar. Put a little bit more. That's good. And then we add a half cup of heavy whipping cream. It's going to make it nice and creamy. And then a quarter cup of milk. And you can use any kind of milk you have, but we have whole milk on hand. And we mix that for about 2 minutes so it's nice and creamy. We're going to scrape down the sides to make sure everything gets mixed together. Now we add the last ingredient, which is 2 eggs. Alright, now we do the fun part. We put the Oreos in. So we just break them up with our hands, and the mixer will take care of the rest.
I forgot to say that the cream cheese is at room temperature. I let it sit for a couple hours on the counter. Just use cold cream cheese up in there. It
Smells good.
Yeah.
Now we got the bacon in the oven.
That literally looks like melted Oreo ice cream.
It does. It looks just like it.
I feel like you could just put it in the freezer now and then that's it, that's ice cream.
You could do that. So now we get the pie crust.
Yeah.
It makes it enough to fill 2 of these pie crusts, or if you have a big cheesecake pan, you can use that. So now we just scoop some of the batter into the pie crust. Sounded like my Facebook thing.
Oh.
And we'll put the
Looks very good.
Thank you.
So you already preheated the oven?
Yep, 325. And now we just decorate the top with Oreos.
So I'll put this one in the oven.
So they bake for about 40 minutes, and then when they come out of the oven, let them set for an hour on the counter, and then refrigerate them overnight.
Nice. Fridge them. Okay. So we're gonna wait a while, and then we're gonna finally show you the finished product. So stay tuned. All right.
So I take them out of the oven now after 40 minutes. This is what they look like. Now we let them cool to room temperature, and now we put them in the fridge.
How long are you supposed to put them in the fridge for?
Overnight.
Overnight. Oh, okay. So while the other cakes are gonna be in the freezer overnight, we already have a pre-cooked one that's already made.
This is what it comes out looking like after it's set in the fridge.
The what?
This is what it looks like when it comes out of the fridge.
Yes. So now we get to try it out.
Yes.
Hey.
Beautiful.
That's so good. Alright, let's try it. This is very good.
You like it?
Yeah, the red velvet was creamy and dry.
Alright, so that was my Oreo cheesecake video. It's real simple to make, and also really delicious. But it is kind of a rich dessert, so I only usually make it for special occasions or for holidays, things like that. But it really is good if you're an Oreo fan and a cookies and cream fan. I think you're going to like my Oreo cheesecake recipe. And after this video has aired, I'll post the Oreo cheesecake recipe in the comments of today's video. So that was a great video. I'm going to try to have a cooking video each and every month on Ask Chef Alex Live. And I was thrilled that today we could play the Oreo cheesecake video on our live stream today. So we've got one final recipe that I'm going to give out. It's really simple, and it's a strawberry cheesecake recipe. Although you could use raspberry or apple as well. So the recipe that I use for all my fruit cheesecakes is the traditional Philadelphia classic cheesecake recipe. So this is really simple. All you need is 2 pie crust, prepared pie crust. You can make your own by combining graham cracker crumbs and melted butter and pressing that into a cheesecake pan. But prepared pie graham cracker crust will work as well. So you will need 4 packages, 8 ounces each of Philadelphia cream cheese, 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 4 large eggs. It is that simple. Preheat your oven to 325. Beat your cream cheese, your sugar, and vanilla with your mixer until blended. And it's important to add eggs one at a time, mixing on low speed until each is well blended. Pour into your prepared crust and bake for 55 minutes or until center is almost set. You're going to take it out of the oven and let it sit at room temperature for at least an hour, and then you're going to refrigerate it for 4 hours until it is set. When you are ready to serve, you can decorate it with strawberries or raspberries. Now, I use Duncan Hines fruit filling. It is absolutely the best on the market. It is delicious. You can also use organic, or you can make your own as well. I like the strawberry pie filling and raspberry filling from Duncan Hines. But to make your own, you would simply just take a bag of frozen strawberries or frozen raspberries, put it over a sauce, put them in a sauce pot with about a half cup of sugar and a cup of maybe a half cup to a cup of water, and bring that to a boil and then mash it all together, and you've got a strawberry sauce or a raspberry sauce that is absolutely delicious. So great recipe. Awesome. So I had a great time on tonight's Ask Chef Alex Live. I hope you guys did as well. So we've got some more awesome questions. Crip says, headed to Chicago in October for Aquashella, hoping to find some good Mexican there. Heard the food scene is on fire there. Yes, it is for sure. My cheesecake sucks. I'm not a pastry chef. I'm great with breads and pizza. Just that custards, cakes, and pastries aren't my strong point. I totally get it, but I'm quite the opposite. I'm great with desserts, but terrible at breads and pizzas. But I certainly can make Italian food and other American entrees as well. Hey, Alex, have to log off now. Was fun hanging out tonight. See you next time. Absolutely. I had a blast. Thank you so much for being here and interacting with me. You added a pop to the show, a much-needed pop to Ask Chef Alex Live. So thank you very much for that. I really, really appreciate that. All right, so if you have any cooking or baking questions, post them in the comments, and I'll answer them next month because we're going to wrap up the March 2022 Ask Chef Alex Live right now. I had a blast, and I hope you guys did as well. So the next Ask Chef Alex Live is going to be a big holiday-themed Ask Chef Alex Live. It's going to be Easter themed, and it's going to air on Easter weekend. The Easter-themed Ask Chef Alex Live is going to air Friday, April 15th, 2022, with a special start time of 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll give out some Easter dinner ideas, Easter dessert ideas, Easter dinner recipes, and Easter dessert recipes, as well as answering your cooking and baking questions. So get ready for the Easter-themed Ask Chef Alex Live, Friday, April 15th, 2022, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Get your questions in right now. Submit your questions via video or text AlexGoYankeesCardinale19@gmail.com. It's been a pleasure to host Ask Chef Alex Live, March 2022. I'd like to thank Crypt Aquatics and Mike Oxlong for their amazing cooking questions tonight. I had a blast. So thank you, food lovers, for tuning in. Please smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next month on the next episode of Ask Chef Alex Live. Stay safe in the kitchen, cook up a delicious storm, bake up a delicious storm, and let me know if you use any recipes that I gave out on today's show, and let me know how they came out. Have a great day, everybody, and thank you for watching. May the luck of the Irish be with me, and may the luck of the Irish be with you. Legendary Alex Cardinale here, inviting you to be a part of my St. Patrick's Day 2022 celebration bash. The St. Patrick's Day bash airs next Thursday, March 17th, 2022 at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale. While I may not be Irish, I sure love celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and for the first time, I will celebrate it on my YouTube channel. Chef Alex will be on the St. Patrick's Day celebration. Chef Alex will show you how to make a green velvet cake. Green is the perfect color for St. Patrick's Day. I'll show you how to make a green velvet cake with the cream cheese icing. Green velvet, very similar to red velvet, a vanilla chocolate mixture cake with cream cheese icing. Aqua Alex will also make an appearance on the St. Patrick's Day bash. Aqua Alex will discuss fish that represent St. Patrick's Day, such as green phantom flecos, severums, and more. And legendary Alex Cardinale will have a couple of cold ones on the St. Patrick's Day bash. You can't have an Irish celebration without some alcohol. So for the first time on my live stream history, I'll have a couple cold ones with all of you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Top of the morning to you. And may the luck of the Irish be with you and me. Next Thursday, March 17th, 2022, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, celebrate St. Patrick's Day on my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale.